Welcome to Cannabis Talk A to Z, an educational odyssey. Now, here's your host, Frankie Boyer.
And welcome. It is so nice to have you with us right here on Cannabis Talk A to Z. I am Frankie Boyer. We bring you information because it is through information, it is through becoming educated that we really understand the powers of this plant in every way. And joining me today is someone who so much wants to share his story of what happened to him, his life, and what he's trying to do right now as his passion. And we welcome Jason DiPietro. And Jason, it is such a pleasure. Welcome to the program.
Thank you so much for having me this morning.
Well, Jason, let's talk about your story, please.
Okay. It started back when I was in high school, graduating high school. I was in a car accident, and as a result of that car accident, I needed complete left knee reconstruction. Along with that left knee reconstruction came physical therapy, and as a result of the surgery and pain that I was in, I was given any painkiller that I could have imagined. And being at 18 years old, you don't really know the downside and the addictive characteristics that come along with getting these kinds of hard medications. In the hands of an 18-year-old, you know, they could definitely be utilized the wrong way and then turn into an addictive habit, and not a good outcome as a result of it.
Did you see other friends that were on pain pills? It's kind of like the in thing to get these pills.
Yes, it is, and especially being in the athletics department at a young age, you're not forced, but you're pressured to perform. These painkillers get introduced to younger athletes, and they think that they are invincible when it comes to performing. But what they don't realize is that these painkillers are just masks. They're not helping. They're just creating a false sense of security, and ultimately it becomes an addiction, and it's a lot harder to break that habit.
So what led you to want to go a different path?
I could say that later in my life, as I had grown from the surgery and made it into the culinary industry, it was then that I was introduced to the benefits of cannabis. I was 21 years old. I hadn't taken the painkiller route to utilize an easy comfort for my pain, and I tried utilizing cannabis. You know, at that point, I wasn't looking at it as a all-natural medicine. I was just looking at it as something else to try. And later on in life, I realized that, hey, doing my own research and finding out what worked for me or how I felt after using that was totally different than the side effects from painkillers. And then I began to utilize cannabis as my medicine for pain management, for sleep aid, for inflammation, things like that. Then I went on into my culinary career, and after 10 or 11 years of that, I decided to venture off into my own business, and CBD.
So I was just going to say, and so now you're doing something, Hemp Smart's Holistic Healing Studio, which is a vegan CBD dispensary wellness studio, and very exciting.
Yes, thank you. It's been curated over the past 4 years. I started out as just a regular, brand new to the industry CBD dispensary, trying to utilize whatever product I could find at that point in time. Over the course of 4 years, I've managed to wean out the products that I didn't feel were sufficient enough, and then I made an even finer tuning to utilizing vegan-based products only. Because as I was doing more and more research, I was finding out that the gelatin-based products tended to be a little bit more of an easier, faster, cheaper gummy with cheaper ingredients, and ultimately they weren't the best for what I was trying to put out there. So I fine-tuned my ingredients or my products to be as natural as possible, no artificial colorings or flavorings, and all pectin-based, no gelatin.
Very nice. And so what is it like, first of all, what has it been like for you, this evolution and the road that you have been down? I can't imagine it's been an easy one.
No, it definitely hasn't been easy. For one, this is a brand new industry. Like I said, I've been in this space now for 4 years since it first came legal in the state of New York, and it definitely hasn't been easy. Trying to get advertising through social media platforms is being hindered now because of cannabis. Trying to get government funding has been difficult because of the nature of our business. Trying to get credit card processing to be able to generate income and be able to provide more product and expansion has also been difficult. After this whole scenario with COVID, and the government was issuing PPP loans and SBA loans to all these other industries, cannabis industries were pushed to the side because it wasn't federally recognized. So it's definitely been harder in this industry, for sure.
Oh, I bet. It's hard because of the banking. There's no people may not realize that there are no banking, there's no banking regulations. But did the farm bill that was passed a few years ago, did that help?
That helped with the expansion of other cannabinoids becoming available to the market. For example, CBN, CBG, and now the Delta 8.
I was just going to say, can you go back and tell us a little bit about these initials and what they mean?
Sure. Well, all of the initials are different abbreviations for different cannabinoids throughout the plant. THC is our main cannabinoid that everyone knows about, CBD being its cousin, and then all of these other...
Wait a minute, I want to step it down just a little bit because there are some people that may not realize THC is the psychoactive which makes people high. So that's included in the full plant, and that is
THC Delta 9.
THC Delta 9. Okay, go ahead. Yep. THC
Delta 9 definitely causes the intoxicating high, but there are a lot of other medicinal benefits through other cannabinoids that are available in the plant that are becoming more and more isolated as the industry grows and the research becomes available for it.
So there are so many compounds that they're finding that fill the cannabinoid system, which each and every one of us has, including our animals. And so, Jason, when we come back from break, let's talk a little bit more about why more pain doctors are not using this plant. Because to me, you said it perfectly, that you wanted a different route, that the prescribed painkillers, the pre and post surgery pain management products were addictive, and they knew that they were addictive. So when we come back from break, let's talk a little bit about that, Jason. Jason, give us how people can reach you, your social handle, media, and all that stuff.
Sure. Our social media handle is through Instagram and Facebook right now. Both of the profiles are under Hemp Smarts, HEMPSMARTS. We are a
Wonderful
holistic healing studio. We offer more than just CBD.
And we'll be right back with Jason. I'm Frankie Boyer. Cannabis Talk A to Z, an educational odyssey. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
You've been listening to Cannabis Talk A to Z, an educational odyssey, with your host, Frankie Boyer.
Would you like to host your own radio program or podcast? Park City Productions 06604 is a Bridgeport, Connecticut-based radio broadcast solutions company. Follow us on Instagram, like us on Facebook, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. That's Park City Productions 06604. Call us at 203-522-8801.
Welcome back. You're listening to Cannabis Talk A to Z, an educational odyssey. Once again, here's your host, Frankie Boyer.
And welcome back. We're in the middle of a conversation with a young man who's trying to educate people about his passion, helping others seek a life of healthy and holistic alternatives. And Hemp Smarts is doing just that. And Jason, welcome back. You were involved in a bad car accident. You knew firsthand the addictive nature of prescription pain pills. You didn't want to go that route. Years later, and now here you are. And what are people coming into your Hemp Smarts Holistic Center for? What are they asking you for?
Well, the number one and number two ailments that people are looking to alleviate is sleep and pain management.
And so what do you recommend?
Depending on the individual customer, what their personal preferences on applications is something that we try to establish right away, whether it be an oil that they're looking to consume, a gummy or candy of some sort, or a smokable option. And we just like to give them education on how things work, the time frame to expect them to work in, and different applications, different consumption methods.
And Jason, people are looking for alternatives, and what has it been like during this whole COVID situation?
It's been extremely difficult. My first location was unfortunately reported to the fire marshal that we were operating and we weren't on the list of essential businesses. But a few stores down, the liquor store was open full-time, no problems, no questions whatsoever. So it's definitely been more difficult this time around, trying to educate and just get the word out there. We have all these restrictions that keep coming into the space, new rules and regulations. So it's, like I said, it's still a new industry and it's constantly evolving, and you have to be able to mend with those new rules and regulations as best as you can.
So if people think this is the fast way to make money, they need to think again, because I know that you work several jobs to keep everything going, because it's not easy. It's just not an easy road. So
it's definitely not an easy road, and having that option to purchase products online is definitely hindering the small business aspect.
Oh, I bet. Yes, I bet. But look at the personal attention that you get when you walk into Jason's store. You know, I mean, that's what it's all about, is getting this personal attention, Jason, that you wouldn't get if you walked in someplace else. And
Right.
I mean, and also, quite honestly, one of my biggest problems in the industry is the lack of really giving out instructions on how to use CBD. And just
Right.
like
Most definitely.
any kind of a cannabis product, no one teaches you how to use it properly, in my opinion. Because
Well,
my
I would
sweet
say
spot
that
and your sweet spot are so different, and our endocannabinoid systems are so different. So, you have to start slow, drink water, hydrate, and find a place that works for you. That's
Right.
hard to do.
But I want to say not even the lack of direction in the cannabis industry. It's the lack of direction in any industry for the most part. If you go to the doctor, they just tell you, here, take this, but they don't tell you anything else because they don't know. It's all an experiment. So you have to try and find, like you said, your sweet spot. This is an all-natural, and unfortunately, everybody is geared to jump on a reaction, good or bad, right away. This being an all-natural, it takes some time to get to work. You're not going to get the best reaction on day one. Everybody's endocannabinoid system is different, and that's why there are different products out there to cater to different needs. But if you're just a store and you don't have any education, you're not going to be able to direct a potential customer to get the best benefit.
How is it that you've been doing this for a few years? Where do you see this all evolving for you?
For me, I hope that it does evolve to a larger scale for me. I hope that more education becomes available, more people become aware of this plant and its healing benefits, and realize that it's not just getting high. And ultimately, that starts with education in school. When I was in school, nobody knew much about the healing benefits of cannabis. It was, don't do this, don't smoke this, don't utilize this, this is a drug. And I feel
Yes.
that education at a younger age is most important.
I absolutely agree with you. I wish there was more education. I work so hard on this show to have people like you and practitioners and lawyers and doctors and business women and businessmen, because we really are not getting all the facts. And
Right.
it's impossible to, practice whole person living without understanding the benefits of the cannabinoids and the full spectrum of cannabinoid medicine. And there aren't that many experts, and so we look to Israel and we look to Spain for some of the research that's been done, and we get a lot of insights that this plant really holds the key to many things. And we just need to unlock those keys.
Right. And just get more people to continue with the idea. Create that chain reaction.
Yes.
There are so many
Absolutely.
things that this plant can do, for one, on the health side, but for two, in the agricultural side. Building supplies, textiles,
Oh, yeah.
food. It's more than just a medicine, and it's more than just smoking to feel good and have a good time.
Yes, and Jason, give us the social media. The website's not up yet. When you get the website finished, we'll have you back. But how can people find you?
Again, through our social media page, either on Facebook or Instagram at Hemp Smarts.
Hemp Smarts. Thank you so much, Jason, for being with
No
us
problem.
and educating us. Appreciate it. And we will take a quick break and
Thank
be
you.
back in just a moment. This is Frankie Boyer, Cannabis Talk A to Z, an educational odyssey.
You've been listening to Cannabis Talk A to Z, an educational odyssey, with your host, Frankie Boyer. This is Cannabis Talk A to Z, an educational odyssey. Once again, here's your host, Frankie Boyer.
And welcome back. It is Frankie Boyer. So glad you're with us today on Cannabis Talk A to Z, an educational odyssey. We need to become educated, as our last guest said. It is so critical. It is so critical. Well, joining us is another passionate voice for this industry. He actually studied law I didn't even know you could study law in the world of cannabis, but apparently you can, because you have done it. Jeffrey, welcome to the program. Jeffrey is with Grove Bags. Okay, there's so much to talk about. We have so much to talk about with you, and I am so thrilled you are here.
I'm thrilled to be here, Frankie. Thank you so much for having me on.
Okay, Jeffrey, you are the chief of staff of Grove Bags. So you combine your love of excellent packaging with your love of cannabis. Tell us your story and how all of this evolved.
So I guess where should we begin? I'd say the most important part in this journey really was in law school, when I decided that I didn't want to work a corporate law job, and that I was more interested in business. And through that, I ultimately was fortunate enough to meet a gentleman named Joseph Wright, who was the former head of the Illinois Medical Cannabis Program. And I guess we should also preface that I've been a fan of the cannabis plant since I was, really the avid user since I was 18 years old. But once I learned how much law and regulatory work there was in cannabis, and how much, and how constantly you bump up against regulations when you're doing business, I knew it was a perfect space for me to jump into. And so I was lucky enough to live in Chicago at the time and start working at a company called GTI. And then when I moved to Ohio, I was fortunate enough to link up with Jack and be able to work at this wonderful cannabis packaging company, Grove Bags.
So what's it like in this new world of cannabis? And tell us, because it's all new. Everything is new. We talked with someone, I think it was last week, that's been in the industry for 13 years. It's like being an elder statesman, who has that kind of leverage. And I mean, it's just unheard of in this industry. But let's talk about, there's so much misinformation in this country and in this world right now. And unfortunately, this industry has its good share of misinformation as well. Because if one were to say to you, Jeff, I have something that's going to help you sleep, help balance your body, help you with pain, help your pet get through difficult times, help your pet maybe with a little arthritis or aches and pains, or just general overall health.
Yep.
I mean, I could go on and on and on, and you would say, come on, Frankie, where's the snake oil? Sell it to somebody else.
Yeah. Well, I think that that's a great point that you bring up, and I think that it's really important to understand, one, that I don't think cannabis should be touted as the panacea of all medicines. It's going to cure everything. What I do know from my personal experience and the experience of others is that it's an incredible medicine that can allow you to lead a much better, more comfortable life. When we started talking, I told you I'd been an avid user since I was 18. I had tried cannabis as a teenager, and in improper settings where I really didn't get to enjoy it. But I remember going over to my dear friend's dormitory in my freshman year of college, smoking with him, going back to my dorm room and having the best sleep of my life. And I had had difficulty sleeping up to that point. So for me, becoming a user of cannabis allowed me really to start functioning at a really high level because I knew what it was like to get a complete night's sleep for the first time. There are so many people that benefit, that go through their life full of pain and aches and don't know that there's this plant medicine that can really aid them and make their life a lot easier and better. And that's why I call most users of cannabis really therapeutic users. So not necessarily recreational, not necessarily medical, but they're using it to feel better. They're using it to improve their lives. So I think it's what you said is important but it's a twofold thing where I don't think you should be telling people that cannabis is going to cure all cancers. At the same time, this is a wonderful plant medicine that I've seen be stigmatized, and I've seen it be destigmatized. I've seen my grandmother, for example, in her 80s, use cannabis for the first time and tell me she's never felt so good.
Isn't that wonderful?
It's a pretty amazing thing.
So where are we in terms of, because there's so much misinformation, again, of what's legal, can you buy CBD, can you cross state lines as a lawyer? The other piece is the banking issue. And then there's one of my pet peeves of so many people, it's still in prison.
Yeah, that's
because
that's
of
the biggest
abuse.
tragedy there is. That's the biggest
so
tragedy.
sad.
We
So
have
sad.
People in cages. We have people in cages over this plant, and how can a country be proud of itself when we're caging people for cannabis offenses, and then we have cannabis CEOs on morning stock shows at the same time?
Can you advertise? You can advertise CBD, but you can't advertise THC. What's the real story?
So it's all really, you're operating in a very gray area, and so when you're operating in a gray area, what you want to do is you really don't want to be flagrant in terms of the claims you're making. You want to be making you want to stay away from medical claims, things that'll prompt federal agencies to ultimately go after you or send you a cease and desist letter. Right now a huge thing is just social platform treatment of cannabis and CBD. And the problem with it is right now the enforcement's pretty arbitrary. And so a lot of people are losing their brand accounts. And really today your Instagram is your way of reaching your customers and fan base. So, for example, we have 12,000 followers. And recently in the last month, I can't even post photos of cannabis because I'm so scared of having that access and voice taken away from us. So really, it's a function of both the actual law, and then I think what's really also impacting the industry a lot is treatment from different platforms and technology providers, and a lot of it being or seeming to the industry is arbitrary.
And it's so fascinating. It's such a fascinating world. Now, my question to you is, why are you so passionate about packaging? Because we were talking of how it's so hard to find the right dosage, let alone the right packaging, and the whole world of packaging to begin with. So we'll get into that story when we come back. We are ready for a quick break. And if you were to have people check out the website, what's the best website they should go to?
They should go to Grove, GROVE, phytocannabinoids.com.
And everything about you is there?
And everything about our company is there. And you guys can also follow us on Instagram at Grove Bags, just one word, no space.
We'll be back in just a moment. I'm Frankie Boyer. You're listening to Cannabis Talk A to Z, an educational odyssey. You never know who's going to be on the show. Stay tuned. We'll be back in just a moment.
You've been listening to Cannabis Talk A to Z, an educational odyssey, with your host, Frankie Boyer. Welcome back. You're listening to Cannabis Talk A to Z, an educational odyssey. Once again, here's your host, Frankie Boyer.
And welcome back. We're talking to attorney Jeffrey Eisenstadt, and he is with Grow Bags. And tell us a little bit about Grow Bags and what you guys do and how powerful this story is as well.
So we're Grove Bags. So that's GROVE, and we're based in Cleveland. We started around 5 years ago, and have really taken off in the last 2 years, really because of the industry maturing. And what makes us unique is our proprietary film Terplock. And Terplock's the reason we won a Dow Packaging Innovation Award, and we were recently featured in High Times. And what it does is it creates the ideal climate for curing and storing cannabis by in-gassing and out-gassing, keep humidity between 58 and 62% without the need for a humidity pass. It also has an anti-static layer. So, Frankie, if you ever notice on glass jars or other plastic bags, trichomes sticking to the side, that's because they're very highly statically charged. And we find that 90% of the terpenes are living in those trichomes. So that's a very important element of our bag. And what makes our bag really
wait, Jeffrey, tell everybody what the terpenes are, because people may not know.
So terpenes are in fruit, in your foods, and in all plants and vegetables, and they are the flavor and smell and really what makes the product special.
Yes. Okay. Just had to say that. And this plant has tons of them.
Absolutely. And what our packaging does is it preserves those terpenes through that technology. And then what's really special about us, and the reason that we've acquired the attention of a lot of, what I call premier growers in this space, such as Alien Labs, Connected California, Cookies, is because you can cure in our bags without having to burp them. So there's this process, Frankie, when you cure cannabis, which is just about the most important part in determining the end quality of the product. Where if you cure in glass jars, you have to open them up multiple times a day, sometimes just once a day, to release gas in order to make it so your cannabis doesn't spoil. And since our bags in-gas and out-gas because of our Terplock material, you don't have to go through that intensive burping process.
Awesome.
So
there's so much to this. This is not just going to the store and when we send out a package and look for a pretty shopping bag. There's so much more to the packaging, and I just don't think any of us realize the extent and how intensive the packaging is.
Absolutely.
And how important.
So in cannabis, what we see is a lot of repurposed food packaging. So packaging that isn't custom made to bring out the physiology of the cannabis plant and actually be uniquely tailored to it to maximize its medicinal potency and quality. So now, as the industry is maturing, people are realizing when they get, depending on the packaging that their cannabis comes in, it comes out as a very different quality, depending on what it was stored in. So if you, a lot of times, I'll just say there's a deal at a dispensary and I purchase a rigid container, I'll find significant degradation in the quality of the flower just from being in that environment for a short period of time, because that environment's not humidity controlled. So you have a lot of terpene degradation. And then you're also losing a lot of the trichomes to the side. And it's also, your cannabis a lot of times is over drying as well. So for me, and as this market matures, they're seeing that the choices people make in terms of packaging ultimately affect the quality of the cannabis almost just as much as the person who grew it. And then beyond that, there's the aesthetic component as well. And we provide flexible packaging and really view it as a canvas for our partners to showcase their brand. And
so why this matters so much is the quality and the product that you're getting at home.
Pardon me, Frankie, can you say that again?
I said this is so important because it's part of the quality of the product that you get when you get home.
Absolutely, precisely. And a lot of users are keeping their bag of flour for an extended period of time. And if it's not stored properly, it's continually degrading and losing those medicinal properties that you purchased. And what's upsetting too is there's a lot of excellent growers, but by the time their cannabis is being consumed, it's an entirely different product than the product they grew, just because of improper storage conditions.
So do you put the product in the refrigerator, or where do you store your product so that it's safe? And probably not because of the moisture. I don't know. What's the best place to
cool and dark? So about
cool and dark. Okay.
Yeah, so about 60 degrees Fahrenheit is the best. Is about the best temperature. At 70 degrees and above, you're approaching a danger zone. So you want to make sure it's cool and dark.
Cool and dark. And again, who knew that the packaging was so critical to the medicinal benefits? And let me tell you something. If you are taking medicinal cannabis, you need to know all of this. And that's why Jeffrey's company is so successful and they've done so well, because you're absolutely keeping the products that people need to get their hands on. Jeffrey, wonderful information, great education here today, because many of us were not aware of all of this. So thank you for being with us today, and give us the best website.
Hey, thank you so much, Frankie. It was truly a pleasure to be on your show. I really enjoyed speaking with you. And again, our website is www.growbebags.com. And feel free to reach out to us.
Thank you so much. Yes, we will. And thank all of you. This has been another edition of Cannabis Talk A to Z, an educational odyssey with Frankie Boyer. Thanks for listening, everybody. Make it a great day. And as always, smile.